Knicks-Pistons matchup has been a heck of a series, with New York taking the 2-1 lead by 2 points, SA, in a dogfight.
Yeah.
Do you feel better about the Knicks getting out of the first round?
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
Carl Anthony Towns, 31 points, 11 points in the first quarter, hit 10 of 18 shots from the field, 4 of 8 from three-point range. Put him on notice. That's the Carl Anthony Towns I need to see. That dude right there. 4 players for the New York Knicks scoring 20 or more points. First time since 1972. I mean, damn. And then Big Body Brunson, as Big Perk likes to call him, Mr. Clutch, NBA Clutch Player of the Year. 2 key layups down the stretch, couple of key free throws. The brother showed up. Now that's the Knicks that I'm looking for. That's the Knicks that I'm looking for. And that's the Knicks is going to take to win this series, which they will in 7.
Wow, love the confidence. All right, back to the draft. In the past.
All right, so we're going to start with what happened in Detroit tonight. Big game for the Pistons. Years coming for Detroit. The crowd was very into it, but the Knicks knew that it was a pivotal moment for their season. Really, they had to put their foot in the ground, especially after the way Game 2 went down, where it was sort of Jalen Brunson or nothing else. And it was a very interesting finish to the game, which we'll get to in a moment. But the grander tale, this was the Knicks kind of at their best, I thought, Bontemps, because their stars in the starting lineup, all the money and draft pick capital that they have invested to put those 5 together that we've been talking about since October, they all played well. Karl Towns was aggressive, considering he had, what did he take? 1 shot in the second half, or did he have 1 basket?
Yeah, a couple shots in the second half, none in the fourth quarter the other night.
Totally different mindset, which is one of the things about the NBA playoffs. You see each game sort of, obviously there's certain matchup situations that don't change and certain themes that become apparent, but so often NBA playoff games, you get yourself in trouble making assumptions that one thing is going to carry over to the other. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it just doesn't. Karl Towns had a completely different focus in this game, and was the Karl Towns. I mean, I don't know if I would say he was at his best, but this is the kind of Towns they need. He had 31 points.
Yeah, I mean, this is the very simple stat. In game 2, Jalen Brunson had 27 shots. Karl Towns had 11. 38 total shots. In game 3, Jalen Brunson had 20 shots. Karl Towns had 18. Same 38 shots, distributed evenly. OG Anunoby had 17. Mikal Bridges had 13. The ball was moving around. It was not the Jalen Brunson show, as you said. Karl was very aggressive throughout the game, including late in the game. Made a couple really big shots late. And like you said, the Knicks didn't look like the stationary, very rough offensive team they were in game 2 when everything was a slog. And Jalen in the clutch did what he does, made a couple of huge buckets.
Yes.
And, these guys held on through some drama down the stretch and got a win. But, look, the last couple of days, there was a lot of noise around the Knicks and a lot of noise in New York about where this team was going after that loss on Monday night. And they responded really, really well. And the result was getting back ahead in the series.
All 4, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, and Brunson all had at least 20. And Josh Hart almost had a triple-double, rebounding and assisting. It was exactly the type of game that you want from them. And then Jalen's comfort level in a tight game is just, he's worth his weight in gold in a tight game, because he knows how to get himself into foul position. He knows how to get to that spot. He's obviously the heavy left-handed player, but he almost always gets into his left side and is able to get good looks. And sometimes he gets really high percentage looks. You almost can't believe he does. He's done it for years now, but it's like, how did he get to the rim? How did he get that shot?
He's an expert at creating space.
You're exactly right. I also felt, So Towns and Brunson had 20 free throws tonight. I didn't think it was a reaction necessarily to Tibbs' rant the other day. Having said that, after the Knicks got outshot by, it was double-digit free throws in this game, they had more free throws. It was only by a couple, but
it was a product of the Knicks' aggressiveness. They were much more aggressive, and Carl in particular was much more aggressive. As Jackson just dropped in here, he had 12 drives in the game today, and he had a 15 in the first two games combined. He just looked much more like the player that he has been all season. And when he is engaged like this offensively, the Knicks are a totally different looking team, and they were much more in command of the game right from the jump, but really throughout the game. And it was a back and forth game like these games have all been, but the Knicks looked much more like the Knicks than they did in both games 1 and 2 when, like we talked about, outside of a couple brief stretches in the fourth quarter, frankly, they got pretty well dominated by the Pistons.
I want to talk about what happened at the end of the game, but before I say that, this was not Cade Cunningham's most efficient game. He had 24 points, but he took 25 shots. He had 6 turnovers. There were times where he was squeezing a little hard. He did have 11 assists. However,
he also had 6 turnovers. I mean, he's also just carrying.
Yeah.
I thought
I didn't know if I said it.
Yeah, he's carrying a massive load, though. And, look, again, you look at this game, right? Tobias Harris didn't make a field goal until there were less than 5 minutes to go. Malik Beasley hit a 3 late. He was awful off the bench. I mean, Dennis Schroeder's got a lot of Russell Westbrook in him. You know, he's going to have moments where he does some really positive things. He also is going to have a lot of moments where he really is a problem for you in this kind of a game. He was guarding Jalen. Jalen was getting wherever he wanted against him. I mean, this is just a limited Pistons team. There's a reason why I thought it was going to be a 5-game series. And Cade's going through it for the first time in the playoffs. I think he's had some really good moments, but getting towards the end of these games, he's looking a little tired, and it's understandable because he's got OG Anunoby leaning on him the whole game, and he's got to just carry an immense burden every single time down the court.
Having said that, watching him, I've seen 2 of these 3 games.
You're able to watch the game, Brian?
I was able to watch this game. I enjoyed watching the playoff game.
Some foreshadowing for later, folks.
I was already there. I mean, he was second team All NBA on my ballot.
He's on. I think he was 13 for me, but he was 100% on one of them.
Might have been 13.
Either way, he's going to make All NBA this year.
I already knew this. I mean, I'm not at the risk of being branded a discoverer. I've never even been more convinced at this. Like watching him operate in this series, even though they're down 2-1, I've only become more convinced of how amazing his future is going to be. This being his first playoff series, like he's been excellent.
He's been awesome. He's acquitted himself really well. And like you said, I mean, a guy at his size, I mean, I've liked him since he came in the league. Obviously, he's the number 1 pick, but I mean, is a 6'6", 6'7" guy at his size who can obviously run the point, handle the ball. We talked a lot about that World Cup training camp after he sat out the whole year with the shin issue. He shows up. He was the best player on the court in those practices, really stood out. Obviously, last year was a train wreck for the Pistons, but he's got some spacing around him now, and he has been awesome. And the fact that he has held up as well as he has emotionally through the first 3 games of this series, at times being the one calming down some veteran teammates on his team, he's been super impressive, regardless of what the stats say. And he's living up to it for sure.
Tough loss for the Pistons to lose at home, and also on a night when Tim Hardaway and Dennis Schroeder combined to go 11 of 18 on threes. You mentioned that Malik Beasley didn't shoot well. Agree, but they shot the ball well on their home court tonight, and still were not able to get it done. So
yeah.
All right, I do want to talk a little bit about. So this series is far from over, but obviously the Knicks have taken back home court, and they've put their foot in the ground a little bit. Might have some momentum. We'll see. I still think this thing could go 7. I think it's definitely.
I mean, the Knicks just don't get any separation. I mean, all these games have been close. I mean, it's going to come down to, Jalen won Clutch Player of the Year for a reason. The 2 of the 3 games he's played well in the fourth quarter, they won. He even had moments where he played well in game 2, but this is sort of who the Knicks are. So are they going to keep operating that way? I mean, they're probably going to kick away at least another game based off how this is gone.
Yeah. Okay. Two interesting moments in the last minute, maybe the last like 30 seconds. No, last 20 seconds, maybe. Knicks are up by 3 with the ball inbounding from the side out of bounds. Jalen Brunson is going to get the ball to get fouled, and he catches the ball basically right at the half court line, pointing away from his basket, running away with his back to hit the basket he's trying to score on. And I didn't notice it in real time. Instantly, he was caught and fouled within 2 seconds. But when you watch the replay, he was when the ball came into him, he was standing on, in the front court. And when he corralled the ball, he was in the back court. And obviously a over and back in that spot would have given the ball with, a handful of seconds left to Detroit to drop a play, potentially take a game tying 3-pointer. The Pistons fans went nuts about this. They did review it in the moment. And Zach Zarba, who is a top 3 or 4 official, in my opinion, gave the explanation to the crowd and then gave the same explanation essentially with a little bit more detail in a pool interview after the game. But but Bontemps, he cited a rule that I was not aware of, and I'm not a rule chapter and verse guy. But he cited a rule that I'm not aware of that I think is going to be a topic in Detroit on Friday.
Yeah,
you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. I was trying to pull up the pool report. I was watching it live, and I said, and I think tweeted at the time, I thought it was a backcourt violation. It certainly looked like he caught the ball as he was in the backcourt, or going from the front court to the backcourt, which is by definition a backcourt violation. And this is finally
you can
loaded.
Inbound the ball into the backcourt, but you can't touch it in the front court.
You can't catch it in the front court and then go into the backcourt, which is certainly what it looked like Jalen Brunson did. And rather than reading this, and I guess I can read this entire thing. The poor report question was, they're looking for clarification on this rule you cited, which you said is Rule 4, Section G, which is front court, backcourt status is not obtained until a player with the ball has established a positive position in either half.
Okay, that's the key. You can stop right there.
Correct. So essentially what they said was, because Jalen Brunson didn't catch the ball and stop in the front court, and he was running over the midcourt line as he caught it, it was not a backcourt violation. By common sense rules, to me, it was a backcourt violation. It looked like a backcourt violation. Momentum carrying him that way, I guess, means it isn't. I feel like this has been cited in the past. I don't think it's the first time. I think there was only a handful of seconds left at the time.
I'm sure that they didn't make it up. I'm sure it's a very common rule.
No, for sure.
I have never heard the positive momentum verbiage before. And if I have, I forgot. But if I was a Pistons fan, I would not take that. I would not take that, easily. The positive momentum thing.
There was a lot of boos in the Little Caesars arena crowd when they showed the replay of Jalen Brunson pretty clearly catching the ball in the front court as he was running into the backcourt as he was going to shoot the free throw.
He certainly touched it in the front court, and he controlled it in the front court. I don't know if he fully caught it, but I don't know.
Either way.
Okay, that happened. Who knows? Just as even if they had called the turnover there, it's not like Detroit was guaranteed to hit a 3. So, okay.
That's right.
The other thing that is just downright bizarre and is definitely going to be fuel for conspiracy theorists for the next 24 hours at least. It was a 2-point game. Scoring happened both ways or whatever. It's a 2-point game. Jalen Brunson is on the line. There is 0.5 of a second remaining.
Half a second.
The Pistons are out of timeouts. So if Brunson makes the free throw, it's not like Detroit could call timeout and go set up a 3. So Jalen does something that we have seen in basketball over the decades. He purposely misses the free throw.
Well, and the funny thing is, it looked like there was confusion about what he should do because he kept looking over to the bench. At one point, it looked like the bench told him to miss it. Then they cut over to his father, Rick Brunson, who was sitting there pretty clearly. It looked like saying, make it. And then he didn't make it. And you can lay out what happened after that.
Okay, so he didn't make it.
He hit the rim and it popped up in the air.
Okay.
But no one touched it.
No one touched it. The clock starts and game buzzer happens, obviously, split second later. But nobody touched it.
Which for people to, I'm sure everyone listening knows this, but the rule on that is it's not, the clock doesn't start when it hits the rim. The clock starts when someone touches the ball off a free throw in that situation.
Right. Right. So, okay. Why did they award Detroit the ball, though?